Episode 8 of the Canon Event Pod. Hi, Sim, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Kind of first week back from obviously being on holiday. Jet lag is still lagging, but what are you whining about? What's up? Where do you want to go?
She wants to go to the Arsenal. That's what she wants to
Yeah,
do.
I know, man. She wants to have her opinion on
That's
Kiwi
it.
wants to
Just
leave her partnership. Yeah,
that's it. It's just how good they are, really.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, it's first week back. The jet lag is still lagging. Obviously, just we're waking up a bit later. Luckily, it's the Easter weekend, so yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
definitely.
yeah. What you been up to this weekend?
Not a lot, really. Just trying to engage with every single little bit of Arsenal content that
Mm.
is out there at the moment because it's I can watch every angle of every goal, of every fan reaction, of every sort of like, I don't know, I've listened to even podcasts I wouldn't usually listen to. I've been listening to them just so I can get any kind of additional reaction and feeling from what was an amazing night on Wednesday, man. Like
Hmm.
I think we really, in the pod before we were talking about are we going to turn up, right? Are we going to be the club we want to be? And I'm so proud of what the boys were able to do on Wednesday in the Bernabeu. Literally, they put the lid on and rice cooked. He so did. Also, I can't take credit for that. Um, but it's amazing and I loved it. So yeah, he did cook and everybody else cooked as well. So yeah, I'm just still on a high, really. I mean, Ipswich on tomorrow feels weird. I don't know how to feel about it because there's this other thing that's happening that feels more real. But yeah, how about you? Beyond the jet lag, how was it coming back to that being your first game back home and there just soaking it all in?
Yeah,
Um,
it was good. I mean, see, it was it was a bit of a weird one, really, because I think what I would say for Arsenal fans in general is that like it's not a very common experience for us, as a fan base to be in a Champions League quarter final and to come out on top on a Champions League quarter final. I mean, we've only done it once before. Sorry, yeah, we've only done it once before, actually. I think only once. We've only been to semi-finals once before that, right?
feel like this is the third time we've been in a semi-final.
Sorry. Yeah, this is now the third time. Sorry, we've done it twice before. Sorry,
Exactly
when we went
right.
to when we got to the final, and obviously when we were playing Man United. Sorry, yeah. So it's not a very
Yeah.
common experience, and obviously for a lot of people, especially the more new fan base, obviously the younger generation, they probably maybe were very, very, very young during the kind of first run in the Champions League, or not even born in 2006.
Yeah, there were people.
Um,
Frimy was going around Madrid asking, like trying to find people who were there in '06, right?
hmm,
And like loads of them were like, I was like 7, and
yeah,
it's very. I mean, you and I were like 10, 11,
11,
12
yeah,
ish
10,
or
11,
something like
12,
that.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And it's one of the most visceral memories, and I'm so happy for now the new generation of kids to be able to have something like again just so magical in their memories, and
Yeah,
you'll never be that same age again when you experience that feeling, right? And yeah,
exactly.
winning away was just
So yeah, yeah. So it was like I said, it was a big, big win, and not a very like. It was a weird feeling because obviously you finish work and then getting ready for the game, and very quickly between like 6 and 8 o'clock, the time just flies. So it's one of those things where you think you're nervous the whole day, but you're so busy at work, and then by the time you finish work, you don't really have time to be nervous. Until the game starts. I think the only time I felt nervous really was when we got the penalty. So obviously, and I'm sure we'll discuss that in a second. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really proud of the performance. I think that a lot of us fans were more nervous than the players. I think the players were actually quite calm. I think they knew what the job that needed to be done and they did it quite professionally. And I'll have to say it's probably the most mature performance from an Arsenal team I've seen under Arteta. And it's just credit to them, man. Like on the biggest stage in the biggest game of a lot of these guys, they stood up and they went and won. Didn't only go through, because I think there's a lot of people out there who would have been okay if we lost 1-0, if we lost 2-0, if we lost 3-1, they'd have been like, fine, we're still through. But to go there and win is, it's not something that should be under kind of appreciated. So yeah, just really happy, obviously. But as you know, with like, I think we're both like this, we can be happy, but we still understand that it's just a quarterfinal, you know, like, and,
that's it. Yeah, exactly. I
yeah,
mean, there's whilst you got to ride the crest of the wave, you got to enjoy the moments. At the same time, it's what will it mean when if you crash out against PSG versus what will it mean if you go all the way and win the thing? And I guess, yeah, I mean, there's only so far you can look ahead. But let's try and break down some of the game really. And oh, one thing I did want to mention though before we get into the game was, um, yeah, I had no time to feel nervous really, but in that moment, sort of just walking to the pub, streets of North London were crazy. Like, there were even pubs charging people for entrance to go in and watch the game, which I've never heard before. Never heard of before. Like that is insane. That there was that many people who wanted to go and watch it, and yet, like I just think the shared camaraderie and energy that was being emitted in the area was just awesome, whilst tense. But I think I do want to look back on the fact that you and I did say we felt like we could walk away with the 2-0. And to be honest, we said we would look sick if we did. And
Yeah.
we just gave him a free goal, really. So
Yeah, literally, like they shouldn't have scored. Like they really
they
shouldn't have
shouldn't
scored.
have scored.
It should have been 3-0 again. Let's be honest. Like it should have been
At
a 3-0
least.
win.
But so I just want to say to anybody who's listening, we are sick. And this is
Yeah,
why you should listen to the Cannon Vet Pod, because we said
absolutely.
it would be
Yeah.
2-0. It should have been really, that's just, just ignore the free goal. We just felt sorry for
Mm,
him. That's why we gave it,
mm,
that's all it
literally.
was. That's it. That's
Saliba,
it. So
Saliba, I think he just decided to show Perez that he was like, you know what? I know you think I'm amazing and flawless and
not,
I'm just
not good.
absolutely dominating, but I'm not. I'm
I'm
not.
not.
So put that checkbook down, my friend, because there's no point of signing me. There's the guy next to me. He's better than me. He's just Kiwior. So come and grab him
You
instead.
take him, man. He didn't put a foot wrong.
Oh,
He's
so good. So I mean, like I
he's so
will, I
good.
will, I will do my Kiwi parade in later on in this pod, man. Because I'm telling you, man, that's one hill I would die on, man. That guy is a very, very good footballer. But yeah,
He's
let's
awesome.
get into the game. So, um, how did you feel? So I think there were a lot of talk was about kind of, and from a lot of the players and Real Madrid players was like, oh, the first 20 minutes, the first opening part of the game is going to be intense. I don't know if you could hear the build up. So I don't watch a lot of build up in
Same.
Arsenal games anymore. I don't really
Same.
because
I
especially because a
can't
lot of
handle
the
it.
time we're just playing in the Premier League, right? And I'll be honest with you, I do not need to hear any more from any Premier League pundits about Arsenal. Like I don't think we get a fair shot. I don't think they talk about us properly. I don't think they're intelligent enough. So I just refuse to even acknowledge that part of the game, and I just wait for it to kick off, and then I start watching. So I actually did decide to put on the build up to this time because I don't mind the TNT Sports kind of coverage. I do think they are a bit better. Even the Prime Sport with Alan Shearer, I think he's quite good. Even Rio Ferdinand to a certain extent, which I never thought I'd be saying, but I do kind of him and Ali McCoy have quite a good, back and forth, and I do like that. So I did put it on, and you could hear the Real Madrid fans when our team walked out to warm up, and yeah, I mean, it was quite loud. I mean, like, as far as loud goes, I can imagine it's quite intimidating. But what did you think? I don't know if have you seen that clip of Declan Rice and them guys in the tunnel before they come out?
No, I haven't actually. No, what happened?
Ah, okay.
Describe
So
it.
you should watch that clip. So basically,
Yeah.
Odegaard's obviously there. He's about to lead them out, and they're like they're about to come out, and they're kind of just getting a bit hyped up. And I think someone saying something like saying like "Come on, boys, let's go," and then like Saliba screams, which is hilarious because then some of the guys start laughing because Saliba is just hilarious, and then Declan Rice basically shouts, "Come on, boys, nothing to fear, let's go!" Right? And it just shows, and again, obviously, it's easy to say those things, but that kind of mentality is just shown in his performance. He knew, listen, this is just a stadium and these are just people, right? What matters is what happens on this football pitch, and we have already proved we're better than them. So nothing to fear. Let's go. Obviously, as they walked out, really, really loud. And I think Arteta mentioned, you know, you can plan as much as you like for the scenario and the environment, but and you think they're being a bit kind of like raucous and you know just over exuberant in terms of saying, "Oh, we're going to come back," and like we can do it. And even though you think you've got everything planned, when you step out on that pitch and the game starts and the crowd really go off, you do really realize that anything can happen in the stadium. And I think he really kind of realized like this is a cauldron, like this is really hard to play in. So, how did you feel we managed that first kind of 20 minutes or so? Because I think I'm not sure when the penalty was, but I think let's say up until the penalty, how did you feel we managed that first opening sequence?
Yeah, it's you're right. I think all the pre-game build-up, and we spoke about this on the previous pod, although and it felt like they were on a different level. The Arsenal players, they really seemed determined. There wasn't really any like laughing or joking as such. It was just a sense of like just sheer determination. We are better than these guys. So walking out to that weird tifo, which made no sense to me. I didn't really know what that was. That sort of godlike figure playing chess. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if you're on mute, off mute, on mute,
Sorry,
on mute.
yeah, it was. I don't know. It was like a chess Greek god playing chess or
I
something,
didn't
or
get it. I didn't get it. I didn't find it
I don't
remotely
understand.
intimidating. Like I looked at it, I was just like,
Yeah, I was like,
I don't.
what?
Yeah,
I was
like
like, I
I
don't
don't.
understand.
Because if you're trying to be really meta with me, I promise you, we've got degrees. There are
Literally,
those football players have no idea what you're talking about. I promise
we have
you.
no idea. They got no
So,
idea. They're looking at it that like unless that's like speed, yeah, or Sharky, like I don't know what the hell's going
I
on
don't
in
know
it.
what this
Like,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, speed. But yeah, so well, okay. Before I talk about how we managed the first 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about how I managed the first 20 minutes, which was that was it was that was one of the longest 20. It was actually in the end ended up let's take into the penalty decision against Mbappe as well. That was like
Mm-hmm.
28 minutes of just
Mm.
sort of frenetic kind of football. But I think to Arsenal's and Arteta's credit, what they said is what they said they were going to do is exactly what they did, which was we're going to attack you. So we're not going to sit here. We're not going to let you just, come at us the whole entire game. Every single time, we're going to make sure we put the fear of God in you. That's chess-like, God-like figure. You're going to
Mm.
feel that, and you're going to feel it because you've got Saka coming at you, you've got Martinelli coming at you, you've got Declan Rice coming at you, and
Because
I think that's
Shaka's shot was the 8th minute, right? So Shaka's
yeah,
you the one
yeah,
that caught up
exactly. It
beats
was
away.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and that's the thing. We're getting shots off on target straight away, and you could sense that immediate atmosphere shift in as soon as we got that first shot off and Courtois had to make a save. Like, actually, hang on, this isn't this whole remontada kind of aura nonsense that was being peddled. It's gone in the first few minutes. Even if Mbappe, he scored that like ridiculously offside, like chest
Oh
flick into
yeah.
the goal or
I
whatever.
mean,
But
it's so offside. Just
it's
standing
so
offside.
offside.
Like
It's not even like,
yeah.
and you saw the Arsenal players knowing that just stepped up and were
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
yeah,
They were like 3 yards. They stepped up like 3 yards, and then Mbappe's just standing there, and he chests it in, and even he knows he's just like, oh, there's no point in me even
yeah,
getting
exactly.
hyped up
Like
about this.
so,
Like,
but it's still, so you'd think that maybe that sets a tone or something like this because they've already managed to go and put something in. But again, it never really felt like they were in a situation where you know, that they were going to hurt us at all. I felt like we were in control. Yeah, they had a lot of possession in theory, but you know, the game was niggly. I think the big moment, let's say, was Alaba trying to come in heavy on Saka.
mm.
He's fortunate that his studs were down because if they were up, I think I
Yeah.
think that's
I mean, it's a yellow in it. It's a yellow, isn't it?
it's a
Like, you
strong
can't.
yellow.
It's
Yeah,
a strong yellow. Like, I mean,
strong yellow.
he's just taking him out again. But the thing is, he just kind of slid into him. It is a little bit dangerous, but also his studs are not up. They've just kind of got shin to shin.
Yeah,
It's not really.
exactly. No,
This
that's
is never going
fine.
to be a red, is
Those
it?
sorts of challenges, yellow card. Absolutely. That's the end of it. There's nothing
But
more to
it's
be done
good,
about
right?
it.
It's good that the referee kind of just says, "Listen, not having that, mate. You want a yellow card straight away. If you think you're going
So,
to get away with
and
that,
this is the thing. I think a lot of people have spoken about it, and I mean that was the thing that I was worried about most. I wasn't worried about the atmosphere. I wasn't worried about all this, remontada nonsense. What I was worried about was, is it going to be one of those games where a referee is intimidated by the atmosphere and starts giving things that either not booking players when they should be booked from a Real Madrid perspective, and then calling up every single thing that we did. But in reality, that I think there was a statistic going around that we were the most fouled team in one game, right? Like 18 fouls or something
yeah,
that were against us, and that's the kind
yeah,
of game that they wanted to play.
yeah,
They realized that they weren't able to beat us from a footballing perspective. It felt like, sometimes like a Bolton Sam Allardyce kind of version of football or a Tony Pulis, like we're just going to try and kick you off the park. And the referee wasn't having any of it. And
yeah,
I think he played. We can get into the more controversial decisions in a second, but
yeah,
I really think we managed it super well.
yeah.
And
What was
yeah,
your so just to ask you like so just moving quickly onto like the main decision that I think we should talk about. So what was your thoughts about the penalty that we got? Like, did you think it was a penalty?
again, we've seen less given against against us, for example.
Mm.
But in
Yeah.
most
So
instances in the Premier League, you would say
yeah.
that's usually not given.
Okay, and like,
Um,
so let me ask, like, so you think it's not given, right? And I've had a few people say this, like, maybe shouldn't be
yeah,
a penalty. So why do you
But
think it's
whether or
not a
not I
penalty?
agree it should be given is a different story, right? Like,
Yeah. So I'm asking you,
yeah.
like, like, why do you think it? So if you don't think it's a penalty, what's your justification for saying it's not a penalty?
No, so I actually think that, again, if you're applying the letter of the law as it should be, okay, yes, they're sort of grappling with each other, but he literally hugs his waist.
Yeah,
So
because he's gone past him, right? I mean,
he's
like
gone past
for
him.
me,
That's a
yeah,
rugby
for
tackle.
me, for me, I think you can hold him up until the point where he's trying to run past you. If you're still holding and grabbing onto him, and he goes down, you can't then be mad that the referee's going to give a penalty. Well, if he didn't give a penalty, VAR give a penalty. But I think if he lets go as soon as he kind of goes
Yeah.
around him, fine. If you kind of maybe got a hand on him, but you're hooking him, right? And I think again, as much as like, so my opinion on it is, I thought it was cheap. I thought it was cheap. Like as in like, I can't. I was sitting there thinking, I can't believe we're going to get a goal for this. This is crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I don't really want massive games kind of decided by decisions like that. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
even though
Well,
it's not in our favor. Yeah,
definitely, definitely.
but
It's
he's an
one of
idiot though. But he's an idiot. Like he's just essentially as an idiot. Like
there's
don't
no need for
complain,
you to do
bro.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, why are you doing that? Like, so Clive made a point on the Arsenal Vision that like he doesn't really think it's a penalty because the ball, for example, wasn't going towards Marino. If that makes sense, right?
Doesn't matter.
So it's like a yeah, and like I do understand that to a certain extent because I get it because no one really wants that to be a penalty. But it's just like, well, then tell the guy to stop doing that. Then like, don't hug him to the point where he can't go past you. You know, like so for example with Declan Rice and Mbappe, and we'll talk about that in a second. It's a
Mhm,
completely different scenario. I don't think those
mhm.
scenarios are similar whatsoever,
No, they're not.
whatsoever.
I agree. I think for me, well, you can go on a spectrum with this sort of discussions. Off the ball
Literally,
incident, but he's done it in the box. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but
it's penalty. It's fine.
it's
Yeah,
a penalty. So
yeah,
it shouldn't have to be that the ball is near the person in order for it to be considered a
yeah.
foul,
If it's a
right? Like,
foul, if it's a
yeah, it's a
foul and
foul.
it's in the penalty
Yeah,
area, you
yeah.
then get. I mean, like maybe it shouldn't be like maybe there needs to be a change in the rules where it's like penalties are only start to be given for clear goal scoring opportunities. Do you get what I mean? But you know what I
Yeah,
mean though? Like I mean, like
I
if
understand. I
if you
understand.
then change that narrative where it's like, okay, well, if you've got a box full of people, right,
Something's going
and
to happen.
you get yeah, and you get clipped like in the middle of the box, but you know you're not shooting. Is it a penalty or is it like an indirect free kick? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's
this, so that if
so
you
that's
start
interesting.
changing the
At least you
rules,
get something right, and I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that
you get something, and then like you get
exactly.
fouled in the box like that as Marino. You're not maybe going, the ball's not coming towards you, and you've not headed it and been fouled. So cool. Now it's an indirect free kick in the box there, which is still a very high chance of goal, but it's not an 80% chance of a goal. Do you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying?
No, I
Obviously, then
completely
we start
understand what you're saying.
re-refereeing, but
I I just think that so I think if we had a good standard of refereeing in Europe, which is overall on the continent is far better than what we see in England. But imagine if we tried to implement something like that in the Premier League to add any more subjectivity. I'd rather not have it. I'd rather then try and make the rules as black and white as possible because these dodos aren't capable of being able to find nuance and understand the differences between are they
literally,
active, are they inactive, are they coming to the ball? Oh,
yeah,
if you know, and then you got VAR and you got three other people sitting in Stockley Park who wouldn't be able to make a
yeah.
decision either, or they would just again we'll get so I'd to your point, I would
So,
much rather
so
just leave it as it
yeah.
is, I guess. But
So let's say we decide, okay, so let's say we agree that probably shouldn't have been a penalty, but don't you think it's quite interesting that he doesn't give the Marino one? VAR has to tell him, but he gives the Mbappe one. Do you know what I mean?
oh,
So
so
as much as the referee was good,
yeah.
as much as the referee was good, and I thought he was good, it's funny how I generally feel like the first decision he had to make has influenced the second decision he's ended up making.
100%, absolutely. He felt like it's a one for one, and that
Yeah, and
happens.
it's so poor from him. It's poor, and I think he
Yes,
should really,
yes, yes,
I think he
yes.
should really go back
Yeah,
and reflect
yeah,
on what he's
yeah,
done there because
yeah.
pre-VAR, or let's say in England, that's staying as a penalty, and I can't
Mhm.
believe that we would have gone because
No,
I don't know
imagine,
how you
right?
felt on this, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
before we get on to that point, let's talk about Saka's penalty. What what did you think, man?
I mean, I
Uh,
texted you straight away, didn't I? And I said,
oh
so
man.
first, I was like, oh my God, Odegaard's going to take it. Please don't take it. Please don't take it, Odegaard. Oh my God,
I knew he wasn't going to take
I
it.
knew
They
he
always do
wouldn't,
that
but
stuff.
something in me
They
was
always
just
do
like,
that stuff.
oh,
Nah.
maybe he
I
just,
wish he did take it. I wish he did take it. I wish he
now,
did.
yes,
I
in
wish he did. No, I
hindsight,
wish he did.
yes.
Saka,
Yeah.
Odegaard wouldn't have done shit like that. Odegaard would have just put it in. He would have just put it in. Either like, although Courtois would have saved it either, or he would have just put it in, and it would have been nice for him. But I wish he did take it now. Or Rice took it.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Well, then again, I've heard other bits of commentary as well that has said, actually, we're glad that we didn't actually ended up scoring with that penalty and that's only after, you can only say that after the fact. But
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, at the time
yeah,
I was livid.
of course, if the result ended up differently and we didn't end up scoring
Yeah.
that penalty, or the Mbappe one was given, for example, then we would have been
I
like,
know.
oh,
Literally,
we
at
should have
that point,
scored.
when he gives that penalty, my whole world was crashing down, man. That's like I've been here too many times.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. But so yeah, of course, you think if anybody's going to be able to step up though in reality, and I think only once again in hindsight are we saying, oh, I wish Odegaard took it, I wish Rice took it, but I every other Arsenal fan most every Arsenal fan in that moment was probably thinking definitely want Saka to take it. No,
I'll be honest. I didn't. I wanted him to take it in terms of I wanted him to score, but I didn't think he would score. So I wasn't surprised when he missed because I I don't know, man. It didn't feel right. You know, it didn't
yeah,
feel like we deserved to score. It didn't feel like we deserved to score like that.
but there you go, see, and I think there is, you can talk about, we've been speaking about luck and we've been speaking about karma a lot and things like this on previous pods, and that's what it was. It was just the universe sort of evening itself out in a way because insofar as that, although we agree in theory that is a penalty, but grey area, should it be given? Whatever, we've had that debate, but I think we weren't supposed to win like that. We're
No,
supposed to we're gonna win by dominating you, and we're gonna score
yeah,
proper good goals against you, so that you
yeah,
don't even have an excuse to say anything on social media that, oh, those guys were getting like falling over on the
yeah. Every
ground so
decision,
much, they got
yeah,
bought by a penalty. None of that. Like, you're not gonna have, we're not gonna give you the satisfaction
yeah.
to
So
have
what were
any
your thoughts?
excuses. So
What
yeah,
were your
I mean,
thoughts
should
on
he
the
taken a
actual
pit?
penalty?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So like,
mean,
what were your thoughts on the actual penalty itself? Like, do you think that he meant? So do you think he meant to put it where he put it in that
no.
way, or do you think he miskicked it?
No, so it's exactly as I texted you. I was like, so he messed up. That's all he did.
You think
Is
so? See, I don't agree. I don't agree, man. I think he meant to
no,
do that.
no, because you want to put it in the middle,
No,
and
of course, but that's what a normal human being does. Saka's
he
obviously
didn't,
clearly not
do
normal,
it.
bro. Like he's
So
a,
that's what I'm
no, but
saying.
I know, but he's if you look, okay, so like, this is the thing. Yeah? I have this theory about like, especially about left footers as well. Yeah, so I first thought when I didn't see the close up of it, he's meant to put it in the middle. He's
Mm.
kind of hit across himself and it's gone to the side, right? But then I looked at his foot when he took it, and he very clearly tries to put it to that side.
No,
He
it is
doesn't try and
it
pop it in
is
the
side
middle.
footed. It is side footed, but I'm just thinking, did he?
No, he meant to put it there, man, and it doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't make any sense to do that
If
because if you're gonna
yeah.
do that in that side, it doesn't make any sense because the only way you're scoring is if he dives the other way. Do you get me?
No, of
The
course,
only way,
100%,
yeah.
100%. But then
So why would you
why
not
would
just
you
hit
choose
it?
to chip it? Why would you choose?
Yeah, why would you not just hit it? Like it
Yeah,
doesn't. I
exactly,
hope someone
exactly.
is. I hope he can look back and reflect on that, right? And just be like, yeah, I'm never doing that shit again. Like, don't ever do that shit again, bro. Like, if you want to Panenka it properly and do it in the middle of the goal because the point is that they dive and it goes over their legs,
Yeah, exactly.
all
Then
right?
that's the whole point. You put it in the middle.
And it's so obvious,
Um,
that he's gonna dive. Like I said this for years as well. Now it's becoming a more common it's becoming a more common theory, right? Opinion is that in big high pressure situations like that, I always go down the middle. In my whole career, I've always done the same. I've missed like two penalties in my entire career now, and I think I've taken like over 100, yeah. And every time I know a keeper is in a high tense situation, I always just go down the middle because I know they're gonna have to dive because they're not gonna want to be stood there like a wally while I put it in the bottom corner.
I
So they're
feel like
gonna
I
go to one side.
need to have done something, right? Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
it. And keepers are, and it's like how you fake them out, right? And it's just really interesting because I just think that like I just think he needs to just not do that shit, man. Like you need. I don't ever feel comfortable with Saka taking penalties. I don't think he's a good penalty taker whatsoever. I know people say, oh, he scored quite a few. I don't think he's a good penalty taker. I prefer people to hit the ball and let it stay hit when you're taking penalties because
There's a
that's like sort of Harry
proper strike of
Kane's.
the ball, right?
Yeah, like Harry
Exactly. Strike
Kane,
through it. Yeah.
Gyökeres, Ronaldo. You know, Messi's again an anomaly. Like I just think he's just like his ball striking is different.
Mm.
But for me, all the best penalty takers hit it with conviction, and you know that means even if a keeper dives the right way, sometimes you can't even save it.
Can't save it.
I don't like, yeah,
It's gonna go side netting, or it's gonna
that's it.
go sort of
I
like
don't particularly
things.
like the way Saka takes penalties, and I don't feel confident with Saka because I don't feel. But that's because I don't feel confident with anyone who doesn't hit the ball hard when it comes to a penalty. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just how I
Sort of the
feel.
stroking it in thing, because if the goalkeeper guesses right,
He's saving
um,
it.
and he's saving it. Of course, he's saving it because
Yeah. Whereas if he
there's
guesses,
never enough pace on it.
that's it. Whereas if he guesses right against, like for example, like a Ronaldo or a Harry Kane or a Gyökeres, sometimes it doesn't matter, mate, because by the time you fucking dive, the ball's gone past you.
It's
Yeah,
already gone, man. Yeah, there's no point even.
because like it exactly like if someone hits the ball fucking like like 80 miles per hour, mate. You're not. It doesn't matter if you fucking dive that way. You ain't
Yeah.
getting down quick enough to save that. You know, you can't dive before you hit the ball. So it doesn't matter. And you know what's really interesting about goalkeepers, and I think this should be looked at as well. This needs to be looked at. They're supposed to have to stay on their line, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Before they come on. They're now starting behind their line,
Yeah, because it gives them the lift that they need to
and they
then
can jump forward. Yeah,
exactly.
so they can jump
Yes.
forward and close the gap. That needs to be looked at because the point is you're supposed to be having feet touching the line,
Yeah,
right? Before you do that.
exactly. No, that's almost just almost re-blagging. So you're going to start getting into Jersey Dudek territory where these guys are
Oh,
like
mate.
sort of like
I mean, I don't
leapfrogging
even
over
understand.
the line to close
How
the
was
gap.
that allowed, by the way? I'm sorry. Can we just quickly make a quick point? When I watched that fucking penalty shootout, this guy is basically
He's walking
standing on
four
the
or 5
ball.
yards out. He's almost on his
Yeah,
6
he's
yard
like off the
edge
line
of the
before the
6
guy
yard
take
box.
it. I don't understand why. I don't understand why any of those players haven't just stopped and be like, "What the fuck is going on here? Like, why is he allowed to do this?
And
It's
they only
ridiculous."
made they said that they only clarified the rule after that, and I'm just like, but sorry,
Fair enough, man, but it's ridiculous, though, isn't it?
but like
Like,
how is anybody looking at that and being like that's okay? Otherwise,
yeah,
you might as well do the old school thing, like when they used to
when
take
you
them
run
on
at
the
the ball,
halfway line
yeah,
and used to run, used to
I
run and take them
know,
one on one,
yeah.
which is fucking nothing.
Yeah, literally.
But
But anyway, moving on. I think we both agree. Don't ever do that shit again, bro. Like,
so yeah,
just take it properly.
100%. You don't do stuff like that in a game of that magnitude. That's a learning for him. But can the his remontada happens later on in the game when
Yeah,
he shows
but
why he's a world class elite athlete and with crazy
absolutely,
mentality. Um,
absolutely.
but prior to that, there's still a lot of the energy shifts again in the
Yeah,
stadium.
with the Mbappe penalty incident,
Well,
right?
first with Thibaut Courtois saving the penalty, and then like everybody's just chest bumping each other and whatever, and then the whole crowd gets up again, and
Yeah,
then yes,
but do you not notice how like even after that we very much stifled it straight away again? Like we
it didn't
just
matter.
stifled it straight
Yeah,
away
yeah, it
again.
didn't matter. It
Yeah,
didn't
straight
matter.
away.
It didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And again, testament to the players and the way that we stuck to the game plan, which is that you know what we're just gonna control it here, and
yeah.
and so yeah, when the Mbappe situation happens, I mean, we've already touched a little bit on it. The referee felt almost compelled to give it. I think
Mm.
the biggest thing that I'm struggling with most with VAR at the
It's a
moment,
dive.
whilst oh yeah, it is a dive. So hold on.
Such a dive.
Yeah,
Such a
but then
dive.
why is he not getting booked? I don't
I know
understand.
he should be booked. Like you know
I
the
don't
fact that
understand.
Rice gets booked for that, and then obviously potentially misses the semi final. Like how bad could that situation have been in the end? You know, it could have been really bad. Like
Yes, exactly. So that rule on simulation and when players get booked and don't get booked is again needs to be looked at because I think referees are massively inconsistent in terms of how they police it. But yeah, I think Rice said it all really. He was
yeah,
like,
didn't touch him.
well, he goes, look, I'm going to put my hands on him because you have to stop these players. I'm not going to have him let him have a free run with the
Yeah,
ball coming into the box. But was it
he's
enough?
hooked. He's putting his arms out to trying to stop him, and then like to kind of block him off. And Mbappe's hooked his arms and then fallen over. And it's like, well,
And he
listen,
trips over
man.
his own feet in the
Yeah,
process,
it's
right?
just it's
Yeah.
so pathetic, man. It's annoying. It's annoying when you see like really world class footballers who you admire and do that stuff. Like if Saka
Mm.
was ever doing that shit, yeah, I would get so pissed off, man. I would get so fucking pissed off if Saka and Martinelli were doing that shit. I'd be like, listen, don't. That's not shit that we do at Arsenal Football Club, innit? So stop that, you know. And
Because
you're much better than that.
in most instances, as you like, okay, I felt like the knee jerk situation that the referee, felt compelled to give it, was in of itself. If that was the first incident, let's say, flip it on its head, and that happened
Mm.
first, I don't think you would have given it.
No.
Probably not. But then this whole thing with VAR that it took them that long, like every single person with the first replay, you knew it wasn't a
Yeah,
penalty. So why does it take 5 minutes to send the guy to the screen? Okay, fair on the referee that he went to the
yeah.
screen and was like, you know what, I've got that wrong. Or at least he had the wherewithal. He probably even
Because he
knew.
doesn't because he doesn't care about looking stupid. Because no one cares.
Exactly.
Has anyone really cared about the fact that he gave it? No. All we care about is that the right decision was made. There's not been a single Real Madrid player or fan or a news outlet who's come out and said, "Oh, he made the wrong decision and he should have given a penalty there." Because everyone knows it's not a penalty. So everyone is just happy that the right decision was made. Nobody cares that he gave it in. Obviously, like again, I think he needs to look at himself and be like, "Listen, maybe I need to not get duped by that in the future." And actually, if they highlighted something to me before, when I didn't see it, they'll highlight it to me again, if that makes sense. If it's something
Yes.
worth looking at, you know.
Yeah.
So I just think that I don't know. I don't know what was going through his mind there. Maybe he just got it wrong, which is fine, and it's absolutely fine to get things wrong in the moment if
It
you then
happens.
look at it later on and rectify yourself, and which
And
is absolutely
which is
fine.
exactly what he did. Which
Yeah,
is
which
why
is
you
fine,
can
and
only
no one
look at that.
cares.
Which is why you can only, in general, look at that referee performance and say that was a
Very
good
good. Yeah,
refereeing performance.
I think it was very, I think he was. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he was. Again, when you don't have to talk about him that much, other than two incidents where, again, it was maybe a little bit here and there. When in actual fact, it didn't really affect the game that much. It's fine. I think you don't. I think he did pretty well in a very difficult stadium to play in.
exactly.
I mean, I think he was very kind to the Real Madrid players. I think Bellingham. I don't know how that guy escaped without a yellow card in the entire leg. Rudiger should have been sent off. Like he's just an
And
idiot.
just
Like
go, yeah.
yeah, they were kicking us, stamping on us, pushing us, throwing us to the ground, and the referee
But
just kept
that
the
in
lid
of
on
it's,
it. To be
but
fair,
yeah, exactly. But that in of itself, right, just shows how vastly superior we were because they didn't feel confident enough to try and play football against us, and
yeah,
that
because they couldn't, because they
because they
couldn't.
couldn't. And I think that's what makes this performance and result even sweeter was that we
Yeah,
were able to get into their heads to such an extent that they felt like they basically needed to be violent. Like the way that
yeah.
Bellingham threw Timber to the floor,
Timber.
and I was just
It's
like,
just weird. It's so petulant, man. Like it's like,
yeah,
bro, come on, like stop being such a bitch. Like you're just bitching out for honestly, like you're just bitching out for no reason. Like you look dumb, bro. You look stupid because you're playing shit, yeah. And now
yeah.
you're being petulant and like grabbing Rice's leg, trying to get him booked, throwing Timber to the ground. It's like, bro, like just come on, man. You're embarrassing yourself. Like you're just embarrassing yourself, man. And I know you're angry, and I've been there. I've been that guy who's angry, right? But show me with your tackles. Like, for example, the tackle he made on Rice before he hooked his leg.
Mhm.
Great challenge, bro. Like, I
Yeah.
love that. Like, I love that shit. You're pissed, yeah? And you're like, cool, I'm not letting you dominate this game anymore. But then after holding his leg and stuff just let go, bro. Like, it's like you're trying to goad him into getting a yellow card. And it's like, bro, like, if he did that, and then Rice got a yellow card because he had to kick him off or something, and then Rice saw him in the England camp, I'd seriously expect them to fucking have words, bro, and be like, why are
Yeah.
you trying to fuck me over here? Like, we're teammates out here, So like,
Exactly.
it's unnecessary. I think he just needs to just chill out a little bit, man. I get you don't like losing, yeah, I get it, bro,
And I
but just
think,
fucking
and
get
I
over it,
think,
bro.
and I think in this game, right, I think the thing that he's struggled with the most was that, he's been outshone by three other England players, and that's Lewis Skelly,
Yeah,
Saka, and Rice, and all three of them, and in particular, if we look to his midfield compatriot, Rice dominated him the entire game, two legs,
yeah, and that's
so
because, and I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with that, bro. Like, listen, like I've said multiple times in the past, over the last few months, over the last year, every single midfielder that Declan Rice plays against has a fucking horrible time. Like, you have a horrible time. Like, that is not a nice guy to play against, right?
no.
It is too difficult to play against that guy. He is a monster in midfield. It's not easy. So there's no shame in being like dominated by that guy because the guy fucking is everywhere.
No, no,
We're talking about one. Yeah, we're talking about one of the best centre midfielders in the world here, right? People will laugh and say this and that and that, and it's like, listen, man, it's all talk, mate. It's all talk what you say about this guy. Like I say every time, it don't matter what the general public think, yeah, or journalists think, or pundits think, or whatever. Ask any footballer in the world, any footballer, if they want to play against, if they have a good time playing against Declan Rice in midfield, and they'll be like, "Fuck that, bro! Like that's a long day. That's a
Yeah,
long
no,
day for me in it.
and
Like I don't want that."
exactly, and so what ended up, what was expected to be a long night for Arsenal at the Bernabeu ended up being a long night for the Real Madrid players against Declan
Yeah,
Rice in midfield, and so I think, yeah, that we can start getting into the fun bits of the second half because
yeah,
I
yeah,
think we
yeah,
sort of we
yeah,
sort of see out the rest of the first half, which is fantastic. After
yeah,
something that was, felt fundamentally like a roller coaster of emotions and tension, and you get in at halftime, still 0-0, fantastic. Despite if we thought we should have been a goal up already, but
yeah,
that's okay. We're still 3-0 up in the tie. And once again, I do want to say Arsenal players were first out again.
yeah,
They were early once more. They were in their huddle even before the Real Madrid players turned up. And this is the thing. One thing I will mention just prior to halftime, all this Danny Carvajal nonsense with
Oh
Saka,
yeah.
trying to clearly get a rise out of him and trying to
But
get
you
in
know what
his
it
head.
is.
Um,
You know what I'll say about that. Yeah, I do understand that. But finish what you're gonna say actually, and then I'll tell you
yeah,
my opinion on it.
exactly.
Sorry.
So, as in again, it just further cemented that the captain of their team, who is not even playing in the game, felt that they needed to somehow get involved and try and psych our players out. And the
Mm.
fact that first Saka was respectful and he was like, yeah, okay, what is it that you want to say? And then when he tries to grab the back of his neck or something, and Zach was like, "Nah, I'm not having any of this." Ben White comes flying in as well, and was just like, "Yo, what are you doing?" I think, if anything, that galvanized the Arsenal players even further. And all their antics just solidified, I think, in the team's mind, especially going into half time. These guys, then they're chumps. They haven't got what it takes. So you know what? We're going to school them in the second half, and that's precisely what we ended up doing. So I just think, yeah. I mean, yeah? Any thoughts on the Danny Carvajal moment?
Yeah,
Really,
so
is
so
what
so
to say.
like so
So
like I have something to say about the whole thing. So for example, the penalty reaction after he misses, Rudiger like bumping him in the chest and people having a go at him
yeah,
and stuff like that. And obviously the Carvajal stuff. Listen, man, I think you deserve it, bro. Sorry, man. Have to say it, man. I think you deserve it. Like you tried to do something cheeky and you fucked it up. So hold that in it. Like just hold the
no, you
criticism
hold it.
of
Yeah,
what you've
no,
got.
that's fine.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can hold
But this is what
criticism.
Carvajal's probably saying to him. This is probably what in my opinion, I don't know what Carvajal said to him, right? But the way I see it is he's basically saying, listen, man, like you like you're trying that shit, trying to embarrass us in our ground in the Bernabeu, trying to chip our goalkeeper, and you fucking missed in it, and you look stupid now, blah blah. And obviously Saka, the elite guy he is, obviously has his response, and he does what he needs to do.
Oh, he
But what
ends
I
up
would
just
say
been.
is, yeah, which is fine. But I'm never gonna get angry at Real Madrid players having a dig at him for missing
No, no,
that because
no.
I would do the
Just
same thing, bro. If they tried to do that shit at
but
the
at,
Emirates,
but
yeah,
at the same
and so I
time,
missed, yeah,
but at
yeah.
the same time, if someone's grabbing you from behind,
Oh no,
then
that's different. That
yeah,
whole
that's
neck
it.
stun thing, like
That's a
people,
line,
I'm
right?
like, get the fuck off me,
You
bro.
can say
Like,
what you
don't
want,
fucking touch
right?
me in it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like he
exactly.
tries to be all thing, but I get it, yeah. But all I'll say is Saka did the right thing in it. Like he just responded in the way he needed to respond, which is
Precisely. And
exactly
again,
that.
that's the
Yeah.
theme of the entire game. It's so there we are in the 54th minute and or 53rd minute or whatever it is. And I think there's some key players in making this move come about. First, the ball getting out to Marino and him flicking it on to Saka. That ball, by the way, coming out from Raya, and he was looking for Saka on multiple occasions, was an amazing outball. And the fact that Alaba, having been already on a yellow card and not being able to put much of a challenge in on Saka for the rest of the game, ended up meaning that Saka was able to take the ball down quite easily on numerous occasions. And then so, when he takes it down and then starts off the move, I think he gets the ball out to Odegaard, who um was frustrating definitely in the first half. Once again, wasn't really playing with the confidence that you would expect and hope that he has. But I think objectively and from non-Arsenal people were saying that he has had a better performance in the second half. And he
So
and he's
I had an interesting opinion on actually him, which I'll
yeah
share in a second, which made me think
yeah
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, and so what the one of the best actions that he had in this game is that actually he waited for players to come into play when receiving the ball. And he allowed that, the movement to happen as necessary without getting flustered, without playing it too early, without playing it, or snapping at it or something like this. He got it under control, gave it to Rice, got it back, gave it to Marino. And then, by the way, so
Great
there's
ball.
there's 10 out of 10 performances all over the
Mm.
pitch, all over the
Cal
pitch.
Marino, man.
And Mikel Marino, 2 assists away at the Bernabeu. Like,
I hold my hands up.
hold it, bro. Hold
Man,
your
I hold my
hands
hands
up
up,
and
man. I
say
hold my
sorry,
hands up, bro.
bro.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry,
Say
bro.
so
I'm
sorry,
sorry, man.
bro. Because that was an elite
Sorry, man.
pass. And it's
Oh, bro.
perfectly weighted.
Ooh.
It even had a little bit of flight on it.
So
Just to
good.
be able to get it
So good.
past, was it Asensio or Rudiger? Well, Rudiger,
Yeah, it's foot.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And then, as we have alluded to this entire podcast, the moment of Saka knowing that the only finish he could do in that situation was to chip him. And yeah, he has his retribution, and he does,
That's
even
it.
though even though he said he didn't do it knowingly. He
No,
shushes
I
the
don't think he did. I
crowd,
don't think he
but
did. I
he
this
didn't.
this is
He
the thing
didn't.
with
He didn't.
this is the thing with Saka. I think what we've seen in this last year and a half from Bukayo Saka is he's turned from this kind of like perception of being a kid and being this kind of star boy into just being the man. Like there's no star boy anymore with this guy. No one calls
No,
him that anymore,
he's
right?
just the man. Yeah, yeah.
He's
He
just the
carries the
man now.
team. He's the
You
energy.
know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not about star boy stuff now. You're just the man now.
yeah.
That's it. Like
100%.
he's
Yeah,
got it. He did it, and I guarantee, and I know for a fact he's telling the truth. He's not thinking about Henry at that point because
No.
he's building his own legacy,
This is
man.
my story, man.
This is my story. He's just
Exactly.
telling
Yeah.
all those players, and he's on all those players, and all that crowd, and the whole stadium, just shush, man. Like, yeah, I might have missed a penalty, but I'm getting mine in it. Like, I told you I'll get
Exactly.
it, and I'm
Yeah.
getting it.
And I'm getting it.
So,
and I got it.
and that's it. And like, you
And he
can't stop
backed
me.
himself. He even said prior to the game he thought he was going to score. After he missed the penalty, he was like, I'm
We
still going
said,
to score.
well, we said he was going to score, right? We both
we
said he
did.
was going to score. And I think most Arsenal fans, if you look around, like Frimmy was going around interviewing people, most people said Saka would score, you know? We knew it because he had that whole left-hand side on toast. Rudiger didn't want nothing to do with him. There's a reason. Listen, this is the funny thing about Rudiger, right? He portrays himself as this kind of like go around, marshal this, marshal that, like, I'm the best defender here and there, blah, blah, yeah? If you were that good, when you saw your mate Alaba getting absolutely fucking rocked to his shit rocked constantly to the point where he's fucking like doing dirty wine on the floor, mate, yeah, trying to fucking stop Saka. Like, I don't know what he's doing, he's falling over before Saka's like pump faking and the guy's just fucking falling over, right? You would go over and make that your man then. You'd say, cool, like, you're
Let
not
me help
dealing with
you.
this.
Let's double up
Let
on
me
him.
come here. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't want nothing to do with that guy. You didn't want nothing to do with him because you don't want to get embarrassed, you know?
Yeah,
So you were
100%.
like, yeah, I'm gonna leave it. You didn't track him for the run. You didn't track him for the goal. And then you looked around at the fucking linesman, yeah, like you know, like fucking like Lenny Yoro the other day. You're looking at the linesman, like, please save us. He ain't saving you, bro. Like, he ain't saving you, you know. So it's just elite, man. And I think going back to the goal, Mikel Merino wins that first header, absolutely fantastic, you know. So it was really good because he wins the first header, ball goes to Saka. Saka then plays it into Odegaard. Odegaard then plays it nicely into Rice. Rice drops it back into Odegaard. Odegaard plays it to Merino, and it's just that. So Ole Aina was talking about how Arsenal. And I guess for me, this is just how football works, and I think this is how it should be. But this constant movement of players along the different lines of the pitch, where you can't really track them
in your zones, right? It's the very Guardiola-esque of thinking that you have. You don't play a position. You play within a territory, and that's how you can control the space and you dominate the space. In fact, and it's very difficult for then any team to man to man you, for example, which I think they kind of try to do, and that's probably what caused them a lot of problem. But you can't.
And again, I think we agree. Fantastic finish, puts us 1-0 up. So yeah, I think we're all buzzing. But as Arsenal do, you don't get to enjoy that, my friend.
Absolutely
you don't get to enjoy it because 2 minutes later,
you're gonna have 0.000% xg whatever.
So I don't want to go too far into this because I know I'm limited time.
Because there's also not much to say about it, really.
No, it's just. But whose fault do you think it is in terms of?
This is what I was going to ask you. Like, who's
so do you think? Okay, so do you think it's Raya's fault or do you think it's Saliba's fault?
I feel like they're a bit. To be honest, I think they're a bit culpable, and I'll tell you what. And this is not me trying to sit on the fence. I think if you could say Raya took too long to pass the ball in the first place. So he's already inviting on the press with him stuttering, just playing out the ball. And then he eventually decides to give it to Saliba in a bit of an awkward way. Now, so that's his fault. Saliba, I don't know how he has not looked over his shoulder just once.
It's blindside though, right? This is the
It's
problem.
sort of
when you're when you're right-footed and you're taking it, yeah.
But I think if you're looking, and maybe I'm being super harsh here, but I feel like you've got Vinny Jr. and Kylian Mbappe who are been trying to press you the whole game. Well, press. I say that with inverted commas. They occasionally try to press, but they're rapid. I just think. Yeah. You don't need to take that extra touch. You can probably just, if anything, pass it back. I think
the first touch is poor, personally.
That's the thing, right? And so that puts him in a situation immediately whereby
he's closed, right?
Yes,
he's closed off his options with his first touch. Yeah. When in actual fact he needs to open up his body. Yeah, I mean, he's rolled it out to him, but I mean, there's no reason why you can't just open your body up on your right and then see everything and then do that, right? Yeah. So right. I think they're probably both a little bit culpable. But what I will say is, I'm kind of happy that it happened. Because it's happened in a game where it didn't mean anything, and now it's going to be so etched in their brains that. Because I think we mentioned this, right? And this is really good. This is a good thing about you can go back to pods and clipping things. We mentioned this blind side press from the right hand side before because Anthony Gordon did it to us against Newcastle.
To be honest, he more or less killed us in
when he
both of
kept
those
kind of
games.
coming round and pressing in that
Yes.
side and
Yeah.
putting us on not allowing Saliba to open his body up and play it out, forcing
Yeah.
us to play it into the middle of the park. They pressed Rice, they pressed Party, they won it early, and then I think they're the team who really kind of I think if anyone is watching this and they want to know how to play against Arsenal, they really need to watch the Newcastle games against us this season and see how they pressed us at the back and didn't allow us to play. And I think I think it's not going to matter now because I think we've figured out ways to get around that. But I think that was probably a really good way to show
It just
that where
reminded
we
them
can see
again,
goals.
right? And sort of to your point regarding Saka, again, good learning. You fuck around and you find out.
That's it.
and that's
That's
and
it
that's
at the
and
highest
that's
level.
it.
It still happens, right? It still happens at
That's
the
what
highest
happens.
level. So
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
important to make those mistakes and to learn from them because they will, because they're not silly. They'll go through the game tape and they'll really sit down and pick apart and analyze as to what happened. Was it Raya's bobbly roll to him across the box that
Exactly.
he shouldn't have done? Was it Saliba's lack of looking over his shoulder? Was it his bad first touch? He's looking up the pitch, so his first touch is just to touch it in and see what you can do. I think all in all, it's probably a joint mistake. I probably blame Saliba more than anyone because I think personally it's his first touch which is the problem. Get your first touch right,
Same.
and we don't have this issue.
Same.
But again, I think it kind of just it dampened down the kind of feeling of we're really dominating here. But these things happen. I have to head off, bro. So what we do is we'll pause it, and if you're free tonight.
Yeah, I'm around.
Yeah, we'll finish the rest. We'll finish the rest of it.
Finish
All
off.
we have to do is just go through kind of the Martinelli now because
Just
nothing
the
really happened
Martinelli
between that
goal,
point
and
and that
then I
point.
think we just need to give some players some flowers in it.
That's it, yeah. And we'll do some kind of like like I think everyone deserved it really. And I actually want to talk about Odegaard as well because I saw a really interesting thing I'll leave you with before we pause it was that, and it's something that I need to kind of reduce my agenda with him as well because I'm more annoyed at Odegaard because I think it's annoying me that he needs to be. I want him to be better because I'm like, if you can bring your level up now as well to the way you were, then no one's stopping us in this competition. Right?
Then we're the best team in Europe.
Yeah, exactly, and we're doing it. So as just something for you to think about before we pause and come back is someone said that he was really doing, and it was Mika Richards and Gary Lineker on their podcast actually talking about how he was really available for the pass from the press every time, making himself available, being that release gauge, asking for it, wanting it. And I need to rewatch it now. I'm going to rewatch it and I'm going to see, and I can have a really non-biased view on his performance to see how often he was doing that because. One thing I will say is I don't think he was. I think there were times when I need more from him, and I don't think he was great because I was getting annoyed because I was like, "Come on, man, I need you to just be a bit better there." Like shying away from playing it forward. But equally, if he's doing that kind of role as well, when he's being that release gauge for us and we're getting out, I have to acknowledge that as well. So I'll leave you with that. We'll pause it and we'll come back.
Nice one, bro.
Cool. All right, I'll speak to you in a bit.
Chat in a bit, bro.
Yeah, we spoke about Saka's goal, and we just wanted to now talk about sort of then the remainder of the second half and how we saw that out, and then and we obviously spoke also about the way that Vinicius Junior managed to get stealing that goal against Saliba, and now it was just sort of the latter part of the game and how we managed that super well before we then start breaking down into how the players, how all the individual performances really, which I think they there's so many that we need to give. Shine a light on because everybody was immense and epic. But yeah, how did you think we saw out the rest of the game? So obviously we conceded a bit of a sucker punch. We gave them one for free because we like doing that.
I was just going to say, if you're wondering why we both look completely different and have haircuts.
Important. I shaved. You're wearing a blind shirt.
That's it. Yeah. We had to basically pause because we had some work to do because unfortunately we don't do podcasts for a living just yet. So we had actual jobs to work, so we had to go and do the other things. But now we're back. I think we were good. I mean, it was one of those weird things where when I'm in a game and I'm watching Arsenal and I'm kind of worried about the result, which is not a lot, if that makes sense, because we tend to do quite well in the recent years, and obviously we go ahead and we manage it quite well, usually by a couple of goals, right? But in these kind of games where you're a bit worried, so let's say like the Liverpool game at the start of the season, when we're dropping like flies and just hoping you can hold out, the Man United game recently when we just were trying our hardest to lose that game for some reason, obviously now the Real Madrid game, I do this thing where I kind of take the whole game in like 10-minute bursts. So what I do is I kind of just say, let's get to 55 minutes, let's get to 65 minutes. Let me just not even look at the time, and hopefully you'll get to 85 minutes. What those kind of things, and then hopefully things just don't happen as much, because when you play football, especially when you play, I think as much as when you watch it, you realize that things just happen in seconds.
Yeah.
You know, big things and game defining things happen in seconds. And then sometimes when you're looking at, like, you know, you're in the 45th minute and you're thinking, damn man, we've got like potentially 50 minutes here. Yeah, you got the almost an hour here that you have to kind of hold out and produce stuff. And then I think what I tended to realize was actually that we were quite comfortable. We were still the better team. We were still creating chances. Real Madrid really never looked like they were going to score unless we gave it to them, like we did, because they were just doing this thing where they would get it wide and just cross it into the box. And I mean, that doesn't. I mean, I know what tactic that is. That's the tactic of, we haven't really got any ideas to penetrate centrally, so we're going to kind of put it in the mixer and hopefully something rebounds to one of our guys and we'll get a goal somewhere, you know. So I felt quite confident. I felt quite easy. Obviously, they were trying to like kind of rile us up and get us yellow carded and be quite dirty, really. Like, they were being really dirty in it. Like, and it's something that I guess you can accept from a team like Real Madrid, because, you know, that's sometimes how you get your steal and sometimes how you like show yourselves as one of the best teams, because you've got that nasty streak. But there's a difference between having a nasty streak and also just being nasty the entire game, you know, because you're just not good enough. And I think what they found is that they were being quite heavily outplayed by a team which is just much better than them right now. Not to say that we're a better team than them overall. I just think at this point in our seasons and at this point in where we're playing, we seem to be better than them, you know. And I think that frustrated them because they're not used to being the second best team when they're playing teams, you know. But yeah, I thought it was quite comfortable. Well, how did you feel?
Yeah, I think a lot of the frustrations were typified, and we touched on this in sort of Bellingham's performance and Rudiger's performance, which was that, you know, the frustrations boiled over how Bellingham didn't get a card for throwing timber on the floor, and how Rudiger, you know, some people might argue that his momentum carried him in such a way that he couldn't necessarily, you know, move himself out of. But I don't agree. I think he knew exactly what he was
I
doing
don't
in
agree,
terms of
man.
leaving
I've
a boot
never,
on him. I've never
I've
stamped
never
on
stepped on
anyone.
someone's chest.
Never,
Yeah,
never. Because you
no,
can move. You
ever,
can
ever.
move.
You can easily
Exactly.
move. You can
Of
easily
course you
move.
can.
You don't
Of
need
course
to
you
be
can.
stamping on anyone. Yeah.
And even if right, like the momentum, etc. Sometimes it is accidental, but he doesn't even look like he makes an attempt. Do you know
You
what I
don't
mean?
stamp, right? You kind of like you might go like one and then
Yeah.
jump
You
off.
don't leave your foot
You
there,
don't
right? You
come down.
quickly release. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
and that typifies it really. I think it just shows the fact that they were outclassed really, and then that leads us really nicely, I suppose, to the cherry on top, where, you know, again we saw quick thinking, a sense of, we want to go and get the win. We're not here to take a draw. We're not here to take anything less. And in sort of in line with what every single person was saying, you know, the Raya and Arteta before the game, which is that we just want to win the game. I think it was a perfect opportunity for, again, hold the L, Mikel Merino, to put a slide rule pass into Martinelli, and he has still, after running like a dog for 90 minutes, he has the burst of energy and pace to be able to get away from Fran Garcia and open his body up and finish in a way that we haven't seen him finish in a long time. I think it's something that we've missed a little bit from him, because, you know, he has it in his locker, but he just, you know, he hasn't really necessarily had the confidence and the running games in quite the right way to get into those positions and score those sorts of goals again. It was very reminiscent of the goal that he scored against Chelsea, you know, and the way he just burst away and still had time to open up his body and then put it in the corner. And that was just, what a moment. I think I wanted to give a big shout out to my mate Shreyas, who was watching the game. We're trying to meet each other up beforehand. He was watching it in Highbury, and then he messaged me. He goes, "Don't worry, man. I'll definitely come and see you." So he comes all the way up to our ends, and literally a minute before Martinelli scores, he gets on two buses. He's battered, but he gets on two buses, gets there, and then turns around. Martinelli scores, and the whole pub just loses its mind. And I think it was just exactly what everybody needed, that sort of deserved pressure release on the gauge, so to speak. And yeah, I think something that the boys really deserved in the way that they performed. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that final goal? How did you feel about it, like, in terms of...
Yeah, it kind of reminded me like of Torres, right? Like
Yeah, Torres
Chelsea.
against Barcelona. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me that it was just like you said. I think our performance over the two legs deserved to win. I think we deserved to win that game. And yeah, I just think it was a nice goal that we don't tend to score as often. You know, we don't get to see those goals as often as Arsenal fans because teams don't tend to leave that kind of space open for us.
That's
And
true.
our players don't tend to get open space to run into, you know. Mikel Merino and Declan Rice and Odegaard, they don't have spaces to pass into like that. So for them, it's just like Christmas for them. They're like, oh, this is great. Look at all this space we're passing into. And then Martinelli can just absolutely use his pace and burn that player. So it was good. Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was just a nice moment. It was a nice moment to kind of just be like, oh, nice, we got this, man, and we're going through, and it's easy, and we deserve it. So yeah, it was good. It was good. I'm sure the fans at the stadium would have really enjoyed it. The fans
They're
of the
losing
park
it.
really enjoyed it.
Losing it.
Yeah, being at home, like it was good, but I didn't get too gassed about it. I was just like, okay, cool. The most important thing is that we're through, you know. I think being around other people would have meant that you got more gassed about it. But my first initial thought already after that, like before, but as he was even running through, I was like, okay, PSG, you know. I was thinking like, okay, cool, like PSG, we need to focus on that game. So yeah, it was good. It was good. I'm happy about it. But I'm happy for him. You know, I think he's had a bit of even on this podcast, a bit of criticism over the last few
Yeah,
months, and I think
we're
he's
ready to
stepped
sell
up
him, man.
since
So
since coming. Well, let's put context.
I'm
I think
messing.
the game
I'm
was
messing.
obviously, yeah, the game was obviously
Yeah.
like if we had to sell one player, who do we think more realistically is the person
At that
they
at
get
that
rid of?
moment,
But
at
again,
that
I
time,
think
the way he was playing, exactly. You can only work off the
but again,
information
we're
that you
wrong
have in
though,
front of
right?
you. Mm.
But again, we're wrong though, right? Because then we see football in terms, some obviously as much as we do know football and we play football and stuff like that, you then watch these kind of games and then you realize how important the guy is, like how important he is, you know? So like how good he is defensively, how much he tracks back, how much he helps Miles, how much he allows Miles to kind of drift inwards and be that kind of, that pivot and invert, how much he gives us a pressure release, a gauge, how much he pins the fullback on the other side back, which is going to be really important, obviously, when we're talking about kind of like Hakimi, who's like one of the most kind of threatening fullbacks in the game, and especially with Nuno Mendes as well on the same side. Like
Exactly.
our wingers and their threat is going to be so important with that. So yeah, I think sometimes we see football one emotionally, and also sometimes a little bit kind of like two dimensionally, you know. But sometimes we need to see the third and fourth dimensions of why they're playing and what they do, you know. So obviously we want all of our players to do everything, and we were like, oh well, I want you to track back constantly and sprint constantly, and I also want you to like be tactically aware, and I also want you to like pin the fullback
Score
back,
bare
and also want you
goals.
to get the ball every time and go out there. Yeah, so it's like, come on, man, what are we
You can't
asking
do
here?
everything.
Innit? Like not even
Exactly,
bloody
yeah.
not even Lionel Messi does that. Like not even Lionel Messi is doing what we're asking, right? There's only one guy who does that, and it's Declan Rice.
And I think a point to that as well, and part of the reason why Real Madrid struggled so much in this game was that none of their attackers were willing to do any put a shift in and help out their extremely beleaguered midfield. There was no, other than a bit of pressure on Timber on Saliba for the goal that they scored. There was no tracking back. Vasquez was still coming up and down the right-hand side, and that's not easy for him, and also to then try and continue tracking Martinelli the whole game and stuff like this as well. So the fact that, again, it just shows there was more unity. I feel like there's a team that really plays for each other versus a team that I think at this stage a lot of people can agree it's an ensemble of a lot of megastars, which has been the sense for the Galacticos for a long time. And maybe, I don't know, the Mbappe factor has kind of stirred up that part a bit. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. You wanted to add something, by the way.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the Vasquez thing, and it reminds me of something, right? And I don't know if you noticed this. So, and this is again just tying into the Martinelli thing. So when the game started, I think we took kickoff, and then it must have gone, like we played a little bit, and we must have kicked it down the field or whatever, yeah? So Rudiger gets the ball, and I noticed it straight away. So Rudiger gets the ball, and we kind of drop into this kind of like mid-block here. He plays the ball straight over the top to kind of Rodrigo Vasquez area, right?
Yeah.
And Vasquez is already going. Like, he's basically gone. Like, he's like, cool, I'm just going to go straight as a right winger. Rodrigo's going to tuck inside. And they were like, cool, we're going to overload. And immediately, the first thing I thought was, okay, so clearly what they want to do here by playing Vasquez right back is to basically have him acting like a right winger, have Rodrigo as like an inside forward, and then have Valverde also pushing up into midfield, right? So I was like, they really want to overload that left-hand side. And that's the only time I saw him do that because of Martinelli. It's the only time I saw him do that. He did it one time. He miscontrolled the ball, and I was like, okay, kind of maybe got away with one a little bit there, because if he touches that well, we're kind of 3-on-2 on that side, and then maybe they create an overload and put the ball in the box, because they kind of started okay, they started decently well, and then Marley just shut it down, man. He just shut it down after the first time it happened, and then it never happened again in the game. And I'm just like, you don't see these things unless you're an analyst, right? And you watch the game over and over again, and you see like that is exceptional. Like they identified something so early, so quickly, that it happened one time, and it wasn't even like a quarter chance, but straight away they were like, yeah, that can't happen again. Like that,
because it's the because it's the only thing tactically that if you were to look back on the first leg, what could they try and take advantage of? It was the fact that Miles leaves space because he wants to invert so often, and then you're going to leave Martinelli potentially one-on-one, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, as you mentioned, with Valverde also trying to push up in that right space. And again, it shows their right side trying to do what they wanted to do against our left versus our right side doing what we did against their left-hand side, where Alaba's like screaming to Bellingham, please come and help me because I'm getting absolutely turned over here by Saka and Ødegaard. It just shows, again, the tactical cohesion. I wanted to ask how much, there was a lot of discourse around at the time in terms of, not just the individual performances of the players and, that Real Madrid seemed so under par, but how much credit would you give to Arteta for the way he set us up, before we get into talking about some specific players that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about yet? Sort of from a tactical approach, right? Of playing away in Madrid, first time at the Bernabeu, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I think he said something which is quite interesting. I think which we touched on, which is that you can plan as much as you like, and then you stand in that stadium and you hear the noise and you realize like special things can happen here, right? So I think tactically, he was quite good. I think he set us up quite well. I think it was a bit of an easier matchup for him, because I don't think Ancelotti and Real Madrid, maybe not Ancelotti, but I don't think Real Madrid respected us enough to try and stop us playing, if that makes sense. As you mentioned, with obviously Alaba and Saka. And I mean, like, anyone who's watched us in the last 3 years probably knows that, listen, you don't leave Saka 1v1 against your fullback, right? You just don't do that, because he is going to like go past them. He's going to cook them. He's going to cut on his left. He's going to put balls in the box. He's going to just keep dropping missiles on your head, basically, from that area, if you don't triple team him. The only way, which Thomas Tuchel used quite well last year, he played two left backs, basically.
He did, yeah.
And he also had Lima there as well, because he was like, listen, we cannot allow anything to happen from this right hand side. He needs to be shut down, because if he's not shut down, we're conceding. Like, this happening, And that's the kind of respect that I think Luis Enrique is going to show to Arsenal, because he's a master tactician. So I'm really interested to kind of see how that tactical matchup goes on. And I think from your question, I take a lot of credit, but I think really he's probably saving up his real plans for this coming leg, because it's going to be a big test against another exceptional kind of tactically astute manager. What I want to ask is, did you manage to catch the Julian Laurens and Arsenal Vision podcast interview? Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't hear the Julian Laurens piece.
So it came out today. It came out today.
Ah, did it? Okay, I haven't had an opportunity. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I listened to it this morning, and it's good because obviously he's a big PSG fan and he's a big Arsenal fan as well. So he kind of has like loyalty in both camps, and he obviously has expertise in both, because he's an exceptional football journalist, isn't he? So it's really interesting to hear, because for me, I've watched PSG maybe 4 times this season. Right, I've watched them 5 times. I've watched them basically against Arsenal. I watched them against Liverpool, both legs, and then I watched them against Aston Villa, both legs. And obviously, there was a difference between when they played us in the first, maybe third Champions League game and now. But I didn't realize how much of a difference there is in kind of
sort of their progression since that game.
Yeah, so he was talking about it like they are a completely different outfit. Like, and I get people were saying that, but there's me kind of like, listen, you can say that, but some of those players still played, and our players still outran them, outworked them. I still think we'll be fine. But he seems to think they are a completely different outfit into the team that played us. So it's going to be really interesting. So how do you feel Arteta is going to set up against PSG? Do you think he's going to do anything kind of Pep Galaxy brainish, or do you think he's just kind of going to go?
I hope not. I said, I
hope not. But what do you think? What do you
well,
think?
he's got an immediate thing to solve, which is the party conundrum and the fact that he doesn't have him available, right? So it's
it's a case of I think the way that they set up against Ipswich a couple of days back gave you the more or less I think the blueprint of what he's going to do in that game. It was interesting to see how when we beat them in October, when we had the big man, little man combination up front between Havertz and Trossard, sort of repeating itself again against significantly worse opposition in Ipswich, but you saw Marino and Trossard doing a very similar sort of thing, and occupying space in the same way in a 4-4-2 kind of shape, especially out of possession. And it looks like we'll try and do the same to sort of try and overpower them in midfield when Marino drops in with Rice and Odegaard, and then occupy both of their centre halves, which means that the fullbacks have to actually think about defending, right? And that's not necessarily their strongest suit. To your point earlier, Hakimi and Nuno Mendes are looking to exploit the attacking opportunities, but if they need to also think about the fact that their centre halves are occupied, and that means that the wingers are free, they're going to have to go back and defend. So I think, that Rice at the base of midfield, although we've waxed lyrical about how good he's been at number 8, I think he'll be able to do a really good job there. I think actually it might be pretty important to have someone a bit more mobile than Partey at the base. In fact, so it might end up being a bit of a blessing in disguise. We don't know. And then I think the defense and everything sort of picks itself. I don't expect White to start because I think Timber's just been so good defensively. Although it was nice to see the connections and stuff happening again against Ipswich as well, in terms of the way that they were, Odegaard and Saka were combining again. But I think you need that defensive stability for it. Would be my so I expect
it gives you that like, bit of nostalgia, right? Like I said, when you watch when you get Ben White back in the squad and then you've got Saka again and you've got you're like, oh, wait a second, we absolutely used to kill people on the right hand side. We're coming down this side like constantly. Like there's constant kind of combinations and Ben White's constantly overlapping, and like it's a good point you made about the whole big man little man thing that we did last season, because actually I think Mourinho does the Havertz role quite well.
He does, yeah.
I think he does it really, really well. And
if anything,
nice.
I was just going to say, if anything, I think he protects the ball a bit better than Havertz. Although Havertz, I think, is better at running off the shoulder, so to speak. Even though he comes a bit too short, even for our liking, too often. But he's got more legs. But Marino does this. Yeah, he holds up the ball better and brings people into play a little bit better, I think. But sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
I think Havertz. I think with Havertz I feel more comfortable with Havertz drifting out wide. So like when Havertz does those things when he combines with Saka. Again, I think it's more that Havertz role drifting outside is more pivotal when Ben White's not there, because obviously then there's not that third person to combine with, so he has to kind of drag out there. Whereas when Ben White's there, you don't need a fourth person there as well. It just kind of clogs up that area, Whereas when Timber's there, and I think that's because Ben White's been injured. Because imagine Ben White he had his surgery, thinking back in like late November, maybe possibly, right? So he was out from like December, January, February, pretty much. Havertz got injured in January, so for like the end of November and December, we saw kind of that happening. And I noticed that with the Newcastle game a lot as well, right? Havertz was drifting out to the right a lot because he had to try and support. And naturally then, we criticize him because, he's missing chances and things like that. But he had a hard role and he killed himself. He killed himself running up and down, up and down, up and down, right? He did that against Wolves. And it probably has led to his injury. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how we play, because I think we've now got a couple of different, maybe 2 or 3 different ways of playing, which I think are all quite effective. And it just, I think we want to just touch on the Ipswich game. The one thing I liked about it, and obviously Ipswich are not the best opposition, but listen, they've caused teams problems. They
have, yeah. I mean, they got a draw against Chelsea the other week as well. So
like that. I mean, they drew against them twice. Like they're not a terrible team, and of the teams who have come up, they're
the better ones.
Best of the teams. And they've set up quite well, and And they said it in the interview. He was like, "That's the highest level we've come up against all season." As much as Liverpool fans probably hate to hear that, unfortunately, I'm sorry to. You just enjoy your league, man. Enjoy your league title. Like nobody cares. Just enjoy your league title.
Literally, no one cares. Just exactly.
Literally, as in, you shouldn't care that no one cares. If that makes sense, you should just be gassed you won the title, because I would be. But anyway, not to talk about insecure Liverpool fans more. But he basically said that was the highest level they'd come up against, and I can tell that because I thought we were great, man. I thought we were. It was one of those games which I felt like I haven't seen in a while from Arsenal, where I'm just comfortable because I'm like, I know we're going to smash these guys, and yeah, I thought our rotations were good, our overloads were good. I thought we kept the ball well, and it was a nice kind of option to see what we're going to play like when Partey's not there. So it's interesting. It's interesting because again, I think I'll talk more about this when we do a preview pod for the PSG game. But so Julian Laurent was talking about how PSG's midfield is gonna it would struggle with Declan Rice's power. Right? There's no one in their midfield who can handle his power like that, regardless. No. But it's less of an issue for them because he's playing deeper, and when he's playing deeper like
that's the thing, right?
Much.
Yeah.
So this party kind of this party's suspension and also this Jorginho unfortunate rib injury has meant that now if Declan Rice has to play in the 6, we're maybe losing that a little bit in the first leg, where maybe we wanted to create quite a big advantage because Real Madrid couldn't handle it either. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Like I said, I'm sure we're gonna find a way to manage it.
Would you be so bold or so rogue? And this is obviously again we're jumping ahead, but you can't help but jump ahead. Is that we saw a little bit of Lewis Skelly playing at the base in the second half, and again this is just a bit out there, but if you were given the option of being Arteta for the day, would you be so bold as putting and maybe Calafiori's back, that you can put him at left back, although he wouldn't have played any minutes, but ideal world, let's say he's had minutes. No chance, let's say he's had minutes.
Forget Calafiori. Yeah, forget Calafiori. Like that's not an option. I know what you're saying. I would prefer to, if we're going to go down that route, let's just say it's Ben White right back and Timber left back. So
Timber left back. Okay, yes, yeah, exactly. And then how comfortable would you feel about how comfortable would you feel about playing Lewis Skelly in the 6 and putting Rice so he get that power again in the 8?
Yeah, I think comfortable is probably the word I'm not feeling. It's more I'd feel very uncomfortable with it. Like as much as I think that he would be really good, I would be really like nervous that I was banking our result in the first leg on that, because one thing I do like about MLS is that he carries it well and he trusts himself, right? He does trust himself, but as we've seen a few times this season, he does get caught.
You could lose it,
and you try. You lose it, yeah. And they will know that. Like Enrique will know that. Like he'll be like, cool. If they really think that they're going to play him, and he'll do that anyway. I promise you. They'll target him anyway because they know that he likes to carry it. So they'll say, listen, he likes to carry it. So if you can nick it off him, we're going to go. And they love their transitions. I would be apprehensive because I think it's a lot of responsibility to put on an 18-year-old's shoulders to play a position that takes years and years of playing football to understand.
Of craft, right?
And this is why I enjoy. Yeah, and this is why it's about knowing playing the 6 is very, 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 very special, because the thing is, like, when you're there, right, you can get the ball and you can run with it because there's space for you. You can pass the ball across and you can try and fire really nice passes into nice areas because you have space. The point is knowing when to do it and when not to do it. And that's something that you only learn as you do it more and more and more and more, right? So being an 18-year-old playing at the 6 in a Champions League semi-final is something that I would really be uncomfortable with personally. Not to say that I don't think you can do it. I think you'd be great. Don't get me wrong. I would just rather go with something a bit more known and have a bit more security, knowing that we've got a second leg to play anyway. You know, if it was a one-off game, sometimes you just have to go for it. You know, if it's Champions League final, you say, well, fuck it. Have the game of your life, son, and let's get it done. Yeah. I'm more worried about conceding goals, but in that position, than I am about scoring, if that makes sense. If people understand what I'm saying. I think that if we play Declan Rice at the 6, we might lose a little bit going forward, but we replace it a little bit by the Trossard Marino stuff. And I think we probably still get out there with maybe like a 1 or 2-0. Whereas I feel like if we go with MLS, we can either win like 5-1 or we're drawing like 2-2, you know? So it's one of those things where I probably wouldn't do that. And I don't think Arteta would. I think it'd be very bold of Arteta to do that. I don't think he's doing that. But what do you think?
No, that's why I told you I think he'll go for exactly the same setup as he did against Ipswich, and most commentators are saying that it was a dress rehearsal for that. He'll probably look to rest more players tonight against Palace, so to make sure that, you know, the risk of any injuries.
6 days break.
6 days break, yes, I get it, but I suppose you don't want to give Enrique too many ideas in terms of exactly how we're going to set up. So I can imagine him playing a bit of a game of cards and chess and saying, okay, I'm gonna set up a bit differently against Palace just to maybe throw you off the scent. Although I do think the Ipswich system is what he's going to do. And anyway, to your point, your question was, is he going to do Guardiola Galaxy thinking? I don't think so, because the only thing that you could do is something crazy as sort of starting MLS for the first time ever at the base of midfield, which he hasn't had the minutes and the opportunities to do so. So yeah, look, there's a lot to look forward to. I think there's our season still at one point felt like it was done and it was dusted, and this Real Madrid legs have given us hope and given us energy again for the remaining part. We're going to make sure that Liverpool stay out of the news cycle, because who cares? We've given them a freebie. Although, seeing the way we dismantled Ipswich, and to your point of what Kieran McKenna was saying, that we were the best team they've played against all season, it makes it frustrating that we weren't able to go longer in the league and capitalize on some poor results that we ended up having. And I think in spite of injuries, I think we should have picked up, at least 6 to 9 points more than what we have at this stage, and it would have made it a little bit closer. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I just don't think that we have the. Unfortunately, this season we've just not got the squad to compete on those fronts, right? Unfortunately, there's no way we could have carried on in the FA Cup. League Cup was disappointing naturally, but Premier League, combined the injuries with the red cards we had, so we were already fighting a losing battle, obviously, because we were 8 points behind them for a while, and then we get the injuries as well. I think it's just too much of an ask for us right now, and I think shown right by Liverpool. They didn't exactly go very far in the FA Cup, and they didn't go very far in the Champions League. So
yeah, exactly,
it's tough. They're playing a lot of football. Yeah, playing a lot of football, and I think if you let's say Tuesday goes, let's say next Tuesday goes really, really well. God willing, let's say we get a 3-0 win, something like that, which I definitely think we can do. I think if you asked any single Arsenal fan at the start of the season, you're going to be out of the title race with 5 games to go, out of the FA Cup in the third round, whichever it was. Third round, I think it was, embarrassingly, which I want to forget because that was an awful day. And you're going to be out of the League Cup in the semi-finals, but you're going to be 3-0 up going into the second leg of a Champions League semi-final. I think every Arsenal fan would be like, I'll take that.
You would take, 100%. You would. Yeah, you take that. You would take that.
I'll be like, absolutely. At the start of the season, and again, and that's with applying no context. That's with applying absolutely no context to what's happened, the red cards, the injuries, the PJMOL, just being absolute pricks for the 30th season in a row to us. Absolutely, I would take that, and I think we have an opportunity to create something which has been kind of like a weird season off the back of 2 quite fun seasons for us where we've done quite well, which has kind of felt like,
it feels a very similar story to 20 years ago, right? Where we were having a really weird season in the final season at Highbury. It was a dismantling at this stage. The difference in the storyline, or let's say the trajectory here, or is that team that was going into the Champions League final against Barcelona was a team on the down, right? It was the breakup of the Invincibles. It was a beginning of a new generation of Arsenal players, but it still hadn't had the opportunity to really bed themselves in quite yet. And obviously we were closing a chapter on Highbury. Whereas this is, whilst to your point, we've had 2 very amazing buccaneering seasons, which I think that, that previous Arsenal team 20 years ago had done so with the Invincibles, and then a very solid second place finish first up against Mourinho's Chelsea and an FA Cup win. It in this respect, I think the team is young enough and the star quality is high enough that, it's as a result of whatever happens. And if we go on to win the bloody Champions League, I think then the sky's, the limit for this team and where they go and things. So yeah.
It's era team and club defining, right?
Yep.
Getting your first European trophy, major European trophy as any sort of club is massive. Doing it as a club on the cusp of greatness, which is you've got players in your kind of last couple of years of contracts there. So you've got Saka there, you've got Saliba, you've got Gabriel, you've even got Declan Rice,
all coming to their peak as well.
Listen, if you Timber, got players that you're looking to buy, you've got everyone in the world sits up and takes notice and says, that's where I want to fucking be in it. Yeah?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they are a team on the up. So I think we're showing that anyway. But there's a certain kind of cachet you get, as we know, when you win big trophies, that kind of gives people the culmination of saying Arteta is a legit coach. So he gets his moment, because he understands, listen, I did this, I built this from basically nothing. I've ripped the squad apart and I've built the squad back
Built it
together.
together.
And I've coached these guys, and I've got these guys here. It gives people like Declan Rice justification, because they sit there and think, well, people were questioning my move to Arsenal, and there's no questions anymore. Saka, from that, and I'm sure that tweet of his is going to go fucking quadruple, fucking sextuple platinum.
I mean, people are already talking about it, right?
They're still doing it. You know what I mean? Like, Arsenal fans, you deserve better. And like, he tweeted that 5 years ago, man. 5 years ago, he tweeted that, and it was
He's
fucking
18 years old,
18
man. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Saying like, listen, I'm gonna put you on my back, and we're gonna get there.
No, I'll carry you.
There's a lot of stories, like Gabriel, choosing to join us at a time where we weren't great, and he probably knew his ability, and he's always been fantastic, choosing to join the project at that point. Saliba committing his future to us. There's so many players there who are having constant questions asked about them. But I know for themselves, they're not questioning themselves. They know why they joined. Raya knows why he's there. Gabriel knows why he's there. Timber knows why he's there. Calafiori knows why he's there. Ethan, MLS, even Ethan signing the contract when he had multiple offers from Man City, and I'm sure they were throwing money at him, every way to say, listen, come and join us. Those are the players who are going to sit there and say, like, this is where I want to be. So it means a lot. And don't get me wrong, even if we don't end up doing it, I still think they'll still feel that way, because they'll be like, well, I can see the progression. We're getting better and better. But, it would just mean a lot to the fans and the history of the club. And obviously, there's a lot of teams who feel that way. I'm sure PSG feel that way too, right? They've got their own story.
They've never won it either, right? Yeah.
That's it. And the fans have kind of had this detachment from the team for the last kind of quite a few years, with things like in Neymar and Mbappe, with Ibrahimovic before that. I don't feel like they've really felt as kind of as
close to the
as they do now.
Yeah.
I think right now they feel really attached to the team. They feel like this is their team now. This is Paris's team now.
Which is credit to and credit to Enrique, right, for that as well. Just identifying and understanding that I need to similar in an Arteta sort of way. I need to get rid of these massive egos and personalities, and I think he even said it himself. Moving away from Mbappe is probably the best thing that could have happened to this team. Yeah. Just one thing I
it's
wanted
not a slight on Mbappe.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just
like the culture needs to change. That's it.
Yeah, and you felt it a little bit even with Arsenal, right? I think once Henry left, and we had that opportunity to go for the league when we should have won it in 2008, after he'd gone. It felt a little bit more like a team again. It wasn't sort of a one-man show, and I think it's important that sometimes teams have those moments and those opportunities. Yeah, just the difference is, I think the PSG team that we're playing, and we can break it down in much more detail in the preview pod as we keep on mentioning, but we can't stop talking about it, is that they'll have Dembele and Kvaratskhelia, which they did not have when they played us last time, and they are lethal and dangerous players. So I think it will give our defense a little bit more to think about, which is why I'm even more comfortable with Timber starting, because Timber is an elite defender. And so one final couple of points, massive shout outs for the game against Madrid, to Timber, who 2 games in a row had Vinny Jr. in his back pocket. I mean, he literally did nothing other than got given a free goal. Jakub Kivior, please, oh my God, like, you make us look like the most elite podcasters in the world, because we said you need to run a games in your best position, and you're going to show the world what you're capable of doing. And again, even another chill performance against Ipswich. You're not talking about him, so that just shows that he's doing his job really well. And there's now a chemistry building between him and Saliba, where Saliba might be having to take more of a vocal role, let's say. But his intelligence, his positioning, his passing is so high. It's so good. I know. I'll give you the floor to just speak to the couple of guys in defence, and if there's anybody else in midfield and attack that we haven't had an opportunity to speak about, then let's just do it quickly before we sign off.
No, I mean, for me, I think, we can go through the whole team really and just say how good they were. But I think, honourable mentions probably to Miles, because obviously he's just, doing something at 18, which is just not usual, just to look so assured. I think
just having fun, really, he said.
Name out there. Exactly. He's just great, man. He's just a great footballer, and he's just fantastic. He's just great at what he does, isn't he? So that's That's fantastic. I would say Raya has been great as well. You know, he's just so assured. Again, you don't worry about these guys, right? That's the thing. I don't have to think
Massively.
about Raya. I'm like, cool. He's just sorted. He's just like obviously again, you could argue whose fault is it for the goal, whatever, man. It is what it is. Like, you know,
It
these things
happens.
happen. And when you,
Allison and Van Dijk
yeah,
make mistakes all the time, right? So
yeah, and we said this, right? Like, funny enough, we said this about the third goal against Real Madrid. Raya is basically in fucking midfield or in defense, and he plays this pass through the lines to Party with like 3 players around him, and I'm like,
outrageous.
that's the only reason we scored that goal.
Yeah.
But also, you're going to concede goals like that. You will concede goals like that. You're going to because you're trying things, right? But you're going to score more by doing that. So it's fine. You know, I'm happy with that. And I think, yeah, again, just a big shout out to Jakob Kiwior, man. I just think, you know, I don't know if he had it before, but he's got a sleeve tat now, and it looks absolutely unreal. And I think he's just coming into his
Colossus.
absolute ridiculous, his absolute hero arc that he's gonna have, man. I need them Champions League winning pictures with him and Saliba and Gabriel holding the trophy up together, man, because that would feed families for generations, mate. And that's what that would do. So the centre back club, you know, he deserves it, man. He fucking deserves it, man. Like it's so hard to be sitting there not playing and not getting minutes, and then when you get some minutes in high intense games where you're not up to the speed, you make one mistake, the team scores, as we know, because that's basically what's happened to us all season, to every defender we have, not just him.
Yeah.
And then you come online and you just get shit. Yeah, you just get shit constantly. Like, you know, oh, he's not good enough. He's this. I don't trust him. I don't do this. And like to have all that fucking pressure on you and then come into the game and fucking just kill it. Like just kill it both legs, yeah, and just shut everyone up. It just takes big cojones, man. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot. Because they know the outside noise. I know they do. They're on social media. They know what's being said about them, right? They get it. So for him to do that against arguably the best striker in the world and arguably the best left winger in the world, someone who should have won the Ballon d'Or, listen, man, you have to give him absolutely mad props, man. And I know the players are as well. The players are there encouraging, saying, listen, man, we ain't even got to say nothing to you. We know how good you are. We see you every day in training, right? Him and Saliba have a great partnership right now. Listen, even if he goes and makes a mistake, right? Even if he costs us a goal in a moment, I'm always gonna stand by the fact that unless he has a fucking Carrius level performance, by the way, yeah, like unless he has something like crazy like that, I'm always gonna stand by the fact that he's a very good player, and I do think he probably will move on in the summer. Because I think it's very hard.
The only thing is, it gives us an opportunity to make a bit of money on him, which I think we're gonna have to we're gonna have to do some.
I'd rather he stayed.
Considering the way he's been playing.
I would love, and I would love to just. It's hard, isn't it? Because you sit there and you think, well, I want to rotate, and I also want to do this, and I also want to do that. I would love to be able to play all 3 of them constantly and just have them all rotating, you know, and just kind of ease off the minutes of everyone. But again, it's hard because with centre backs, you know, you want to create partnerships and you want to create that kind of like solidarity. But again, one thing Arteta needs to do and he needs to learn to do is use his squad more and be better at using his squad and keeping everyone fresh, right? And that's something that he is still learning as a.
And I think the back end of sort of the last season, and okay, we barely had any injuries, but every player ran themselves into the ground, basically trying to catch that title. And then it sort of all came to a fore this season, right? It all caught up with all of those players who'd played so many minutes across two seasons, 2 championship chasing seasons, right? So yeah, you're right. I think maybe he stays. I hope, to an extent, I hope he stays because it gives. We've been building those connections between different sets of partnerships, and then we can rotate and we can go longer and more competitions next year. But yeah, the fact that we're able to have this discussion now is testimony to just how amazing he's been, and coming into this, and likewise for all the other players who have been stepping up in absence of others. Again, you know, Lewis Skelly owning the left back position, as you mentioned, Marino now coming in and just doing an absolute number in that role, as a sort of false 9, killing it. You got 2 assists away at Real Madrid, scored a goal, and he's pivotal to the way that we're playing at the moment. It's a very different sort of player to what we expected, and I think all of us were sort of judging him on this idea to be the next Xhaka. And he's not that. He's a low touch player. He wants to. He's gonna move it quickly, but he's gonna occupy space. He's gonna pull runners away, and he plays very differently. And I think we're beginning to see what he does and what he offers. So it's hopefully we're gonna start. We're gonna have a bigger and stronger and more deeper squad. At the end of this, whatever happens, even if we win the Champions League or even if we don't, you know,
or not, But yeah, conscious of the time, what I'll say is just quick one now. So obviously today, just looking forward to the Crystal Palace game. So just before we go, just you want to give me your quick starting 11 of who you'd play?
Oh man, you know what? I'm struggling with this one a little bit. I think I wouldn't mind. maybe he might start Miles again, but then quickly take him off for Zinchenko. I think you can afford to do that to an extent. I think Zinchenko did all right against Ipswich, by the way. Why not give him more minutes? Or maybe play Tierney.
But you got to remember as well. Context-wise, is Crystal Palace have got an FA Cup semi-final.
They've got an FA Cup semi-final. They're not going to be playing anybody.
Yeah,
so even more to your point, I think we can both agree to this. Then what's the point of unnecessarily putting players who've had a lot of minutes in the firing line to potentially get injured or something like this, which we want to avoid, right?
Yeah,
so,
I think it's going to be a pretty training session, relatively game, right? I think both teams are going to use it as a training session, and that's why I'm happy for team players like Saka and Martinelli and Miles and Partey and Rice and stuff to play, because it's just like a training session for them. They're like, cool, if you play 60 minutes here, you haven't got to train tomorrow, innit? So if you don't play 60 minutes here, you train tomorrow. So it's one of those things, right? So I think, so I think it's just probably going to be just like we said, just whoever's available really.
Give Sterling a start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sterling, Ethan.
Sterling, Ethan. You might have to play either Marino or Trossard because we just don't have anyone.
I want to keep Trossard. Like I want to keep Trossard just like fit and ready and playing. Yeah, so like he's better with a bit of kind of what's the
momentum behind him?
Kind of momentum. That's it. Yeah, he's better with a bit of momentum. Keep scoring because he keeps fresh. And he doesn't sulk as much, which pisses me off. So yeah. And then
midfield, we might have to start Rice because we just don't have it. But he seems to be one of those players that thrives with having minutes in his legs anyway. And he seems to be just getting.
I would probably leave it. The thing with Rice is, I'd probably leave that, man. That one. I don't know why. I just get worried, man.
If I had more options in midfield, I would prefer to rest him, but we just don't with Jorginho out. Maybe you can play Partey in his stead. And so the Partey then gets some minutes in his legs.
Partey, Marino, Odegaard. Odegaard probably. I would start maybe. Or I'd maybe even think about playing dual eights with Ethan and Odegaard, and then playing, Sterling and Saka and Martinelli all together. That's the thing. I think we have options, and even you got Zinchenko there who can invert as well. But yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, let's see.
Nice, your non-stress game we can worry about, which is nice.
We've had a couple of them, to be honest. So, I mean, hopefully for all those people who are going tonight, because I know there's a lot of tickets available. So enjoy it. Let's hopefully everybody comes away injury-free. And then we look ahead, as we basically been doing anyway for this pod.
Yeah. So what we'll do is probably on the weekend. We haven't got a game on the weekend. So what we'll do is maybe record something on the weekend, following up from this game, and then also just a big preview for the PSG game. So yeah,
that's it. Sounds good, dude.
Until next time. Yeah,
been a pleasure.
Well, good chatting, and we'll speak again.
All right, take it easy, my man. See you.